The scent of lavender used to be my favorite. It was the smell of Sarah's skin, her shampoo, the fabric softener she used. It was home now. The faintest whiff of it makes my stomach clench. A sour reminder of everything I've lost, everything she destroyed. I'm not usually one for melodrama, but I guess when your life is a tragedy, you're allowed a little theatrics. We'd been married for 7 years. 7 years of shared dreams, quiet mornings with coffee, and boisterous laughter echoing through our little house. We weren't a fairy tale couple. We had our rough patches, arguments about bills and whose turn it was to do the dishes. But we always came back to each other. A solid foundation built on love and mutual respect. Or so I thought. I remember the day it started, the day my world began to tilt off its axis. Sarah had been distant, preoccupied. The sparkle in her eyes dimmed, replaced by a strange sort of restless energy. She'd come home late from work, claiming extra meetings, her explanations laced with a subtle, practiced nonchalance that didn't fool me. My gut churned with a dread I couldn't quite name. One night I found a stray text on her phone. It wasn't even a suggestive one, just an innocuous, "See you later," with a name I didn't recognize. But the underlying current of intimacy, the way it sat on the screen, felt like a punch to the chest. I confronted her, of course, my voice shaking as I held out the phone. She denied it, called me paranoid, told me I was being ridiculous, but I saw the guilt flicker in her eyes, the subtle twitch of her lips, the micro-expressions I'd come to know so well over the years. I started paying attention, really paying attention. I noticed the extra care she took with her appearance, the new perfume she wore, the way she jumped whenever her phone buzzed. I became a ghost in my own life, silently observing the unraveling of everything I believed to be true. I couldn't eat. I couldn't sleep. Every night I'd lie in bed next to her, the space between us feeling like a gaping chasm. I'd trace the lines of her face in the darkness, wondering who she saw when she looked at me, if she saw anything at all. I did some digging, a painful, agonizing process. It turns out, the extra meetings weren't work-related. They were with a man named Marcus, a bodybuilder from her gym, all bulging muscles and a smug grin plastered on his face in the few photos I managed to find online. The "see you later" text was just the tip of a very nasty iceberg. The messages were explicit, vulgar even, a shocking contrast to the woman I thought I knew. I learned about their clandestine rendezvous, whispered promises, and the sheer disrespect for our marriage laid bare in black and white. The knowledge was like a poison, seeping into my bones, rotting away at the foundation of my soul. I felt a cold fury take hold, a quiet rage that simmered beneath the surface. I wasn't going to scream, I wasn't going to beg. I was going to make her understand the magnitude of her betrayal, the consequences of her actions. I started my plan subtly, methodically. I acted as if I was oblivious, as if nothing had changed. I continued with our routine. The morning coffees, the forced smiles, the hollow conversations. I even went through the motions of intimacy, the touch of my hand on her skin now feeling like a cold, detached exercise in performance. The only difference was, I was watching every detail, every interaction, filing it away for later. I changed our finances, subtly. I opened a separate bank account, started diverting money little by little, a drop at a time. I made sure my name was on every important document, every asset, while subtly removing hers. I consulted with a lawyer, understanding all the legal implications of her infidelity, the steps I needed to take. It was a slow burn, like the fuse on a stick of dynamite, leading to an explosive climax. I waited for the right opportunity. The moment when she was most vulnerable, most exposed, came on our anniversary. We were supposed to go out for dinner, celebrate our love, our history. Sarah had even bought a new dress, a slinky red thing that looked more like something she would wear for Marcus than for me. I booked a table at our favorite restaurant, the one where we had our first date. It was perfect, the kind of romantic setting that would make anyone feel safe, secure. She looked across the table at me, a hint of nervousness in her eyes, perhaps for the first time acknowledging the enormity of her deceit. I smiled, a thin, predatory smile that didn't reach my eyes. "I have a surprise for you, Sarah," I said, my voice deceptively calm. I pulled out an envelope, her name beautifully printed on the front. She reached for it eagerly, her fingers trembling with anticipation. Inside weren't flowers or jewelry or a romantic getaway. There were papers, court documents, divorce papers, filed that morning. She stared at them, her face going ashen. I watched as the blood drained from her cheeks, her lips quivering as she tried to speak. What is this?" she stammered, her voice barely a whisper. "It's a divorce, Sarah," I said, my voice as cold as ice. "I'm tired of playing this charade. I know about Marcus. I know about everything." She tried to deny it, of course, the practiced lies falling so easily off her tongue. I didn't let her. I showed her the messages, the dates, the photos, every single detail I had carefully collected over the past few weeks. I watched as the color in her face disappeared, replaced by a stark white terror. I laid it all out, every single step of my plan. I told her how I had moved our money, how I had secured all the assets, how I was leaving her with nothing. I told her I wasn't going to make it easy. I wanted her to suffer, to understand the utter devastation she had caused. "You thought you were so clever, sneaking around, getting what you wanted," I said, my voice laced with a quiet fury. "But you forgot one thing, Sarah. You forgot that I was paying attention." I watched as the smugness drained from her face, replaced by the dawning realization of what she had lost. She had risked everything for a night, a fleeting moment of physical satisfaction, and now she was paying the ultimate price. She had gambled on being able to have her cake and eat it too, and ended up with nothing but crumbs. The drive home was silent. I didn't look at her, didn't acknowledge her presence. I simply pulled the car into the driveway, walked inside, and began packing my things. I didn't look back at her standing there, tears streaming down her face, the remnants of her red dress a garish reminder of her betrayal. I didn't move far. I rented a small apartment, close to the house but far enough away. I wanted her to see me sometimes, maybe when she was getting her mail, or taking the trash out. I wanted her to be reminded of what she had lost. I sold the house, everything that we had built together. The money, of course, went to me, and she was left with nothing. Months passed. I rebuilt my life slowly, deliberately. I started exercising again, spending time with friends, reconnecting with the things that made me happy. I went on with my life, while she stayed in the same place, watching me rebuild myself as her life fell apart. I heard rumors, whispers. She'd tried to contact Marcus, but he'd ghosted her. She had tried to find a new place to live but couldn't afford it on her own, with no assets to her name. She had been reduced to sleeping on her friend's couch, her life in complete disarray. Good. One day, I received a text from a mutual friend. They said she was asking for me, desperately begging for me to meet her, that she wanted to talk. I considered it. For a moment, the small part of me that still held on to the memories of our life together, the good days, the laughter. I agreed, not because I wanted her back, but because I wanted to see her, to look at her face, and know, without a doubt, that what I did was right. We met in a coffee shop. She looked terrible, haggard, and worn. The light in her eyes was completely gone. She had always been so vibrant, a ray of sunshine, but now, she looked like a storm cloud, dark and menacing. She started crying the moment she saw me, falling on her knees, begging for forgiveness. I didn't say a word. Stage. I simply watched, impassive, as she spilled her heart out, her voice cracking with every tear. She said she was sorry. She said she made a mistake. She said she loved me. "But it's too late, Sarah," I finally said, my voice calm, measured, devoid of any emotion. "There are some mistakes you can never come back from. You choices. You made your choices. Now you have to live with the consequences." I stood up, turned my back on her, and walked away, leaving her on her knees, sobbing in the middle of a crowded coffee shop. I didn't feel pity. I didn't feel remorse. I felt nothing but a cold, quiet sense of satisfaction. I had my revenge, and it was exactly as sweet as I had imagined it would be. The lavender smell still lingers, sometimes when I'm walking down the street, a faint echo of a life I used to know. But it doesn't hurt like it used to. It's just a reminder, a silent testament to the fact that some choices, some betrayals, are unforgivable, and that sometimes the best revenge is not only living well, but making sure the other person is left with nothing.